Okay, so it's time for a channel update, and the news is good. I'm not dead. But it has been a challenging few months. So sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and let me tell you a bit about what's been going on here and tell you about the worst week I've ever had trying to fix things. My name is Jess. This is my tech department. Los geht's. Yeah, channel updates are always awkward. I've made myself a cup of tea. I hope you don't mind. So the first thing to note is I haven't put out a video in about 2 months. Now, a lot of that is essentially work. January tends to be a very busy time in my job, and I didn't really start to see any free time until towards the end of it. On top of that, despite the fact I had quite a few vacation days lined up during February, the flu came along, infected myself, my colleagues, and then, I work in theatre, and the old adage of the show must go on really means the show must go on. So all my vacation days went, and despite me being sick, I still had to manage to go in to make sure the show could run because my colleagues were sicker. So it meant that I have had no time at all really to make videos up until now. That's the short answer of what's been going on for the last 2 months. There's also been a little bit of an issue. I haven't been well anyway. I suffer from depression. January to March is always a fun time for me, so it can be difficult to want to come and do some work when you're suffering from flu, doubly so. Nonetheless, I did make it to the tech department last week, and that did not go well. Now, although I've managed to steal time away here and there to do projects, I've had 3 projects, one after the other of late, that have just failed. First project I was working on the PowerBook 100. The machine was kind of working, but not quite. It needed recapping on the screen. I recapped the screen, and honestly, some of my best recapping work was really good to get that done. And when I put it back together, the screen pretty much worked, but that was the only thing. In the time it took me to recap the logic board, the whole computer just went, nope, and it is now refusing to work at all. It's got a fault on it. So that's number 1. Number 2, the Amiga A1200 from hell. And I mean from hell. Give you a bit of background. I bought an A1200 about a year ago, maybe 18 months. It was working, but just needed a new even CIA or odd CIA. It needed a new CIA chip. The PLCC non-socketed chip, so I had to take that off. But the machine went to Workbench. It did its thing. Now, before I recapped it and changed over the CIA, I checked it again, so I hadn't touched it, and immediately it developed a fault. In the time it was sat up on a shelf just up there, it had developed a display fault, and it was mostly now working. And I mean mostly now working. There's sign of corrosion from electrolytics, and there's just sign of corrosion in a couple of years for no reason anywhere near some electrolytics. Nonetheless, I pushed on. I recapped it. Not my best work. Amiga 1200s are a pain in the ass to actually recap properly. There are plastic bits where there shouldn't be plastic bits. Excuse me, I need some more tea. This is very dramatic. However, I got it recapped. I only lost, I think, 2 pads out of all of it. Recapped it, plugged it in. Sort of worked for about 30 seconds to a minute, and then it just died. Much fault finding later, it just left me thinking, I don't know, I've checked and double checked my work. Nothing has failed because of what I've done. Nonetheless, I have a black screen. Feeling like I needed a bit of a win, I attempted a third project. Now I have an Amiga A600 here as well, I've happened across it in the UK, or my brother-in-law happened across it in the UK. He spotted it, thought I would like it, which I did, and we arranged to buy it and ship it over. It worked, but when you reset it, it wouldn't come out of reset. That's a classic sign of capacitor leakage. The capacitors were toast. So I got it here, I checked it out. Yep, capacitor is completely useless. Taking what I learned from recapping the 1200, I was able to recap this machine without a single pad lost. For the record, the only way to recap a machine properly is to use hot air. Please don't use soldering irons. It can be done, but it's not easy. And the 600 makes it especially difficult. Right next to the keyboard connector are two capacitors you have to move. And the keyboard connector is made of plastic. And there's no way in there that you can get any Kapton tape, foil, whatever to get those caps out, new caps in, and not melt that connector. So I thought, I'll be clever. I'll remove the connector. Fired up the desoldering gun, desoldered it all carefully, made sure all the pins were loose, took the connector out, and one single trace stuck to a pin. Tore it, and well, that meant that the keyboard now was not going to work. This was the third one in a row. I was already feeling very sick. I was still suffering from flu. I just wanted to have some fun, and I didn't get it. And I left the tech department for a few days, angry at myself for damaging the PCB when it was working. In fairness, the Amiga 600 is fragile. Commodore didn't do a great job making these machines, but I should have been more careful. I should have triple checked. I should have used a little bit of hot air on that connector just to make sure that the solder I couldn't see had melted. Nonetheless, broken trace, keyboard now inoperative. Recap job, good, but I was crestfallen. And honestly, I did not want to continue with the tech department. Again, stress at work, absolutely knackered from flu and suffering, throw in a bit of depression. Not my best month, honestly. Of course I didn't do that. I'm very much like a dog with a bone at times when it comes to this hobby, and the following Sunday I came back, I sat down with the Amiga 600. I suspected I might have problems with melting that connector, and when I ordered the recap kit, I ordered a new keyboard connector. I traced everything out, made sure that was the only pin that was damaged. I put a bodge wire in, or I connected it back up to the CIA where it went. Everything's fine. This drive doesn't work anymore, and I need to investigate that, which is really odd because I didn't touch anything around this drive area. But the machine boots. The keyboard is fine, it runs diagrams fine, there's no problems. So I got over it. But it did bring me to a point of asking, what exactly am I doing in the tech department? And the truth is, I've just been doing repair videos, and that's fine, but I kind of want more. There is plenty of scope to look at other things within the retro tech world. Here's an MSX sat right next to me. I've powered it up, it works. I want to know more about this machine. I'd like to take you guys along with me as I learn more. But the problem is YouTube. Now, YouTube pigeonholes you. I've been doing repair videos for probably about 2.5 years now. Which means that YouTube expects me to do repair videos. Thing is, if I want to do a game review, retro game review, and I worked as a product reviewer for computer software for 12 years, up until recently. If I put that video out on my channel, it will get next to 0 views because it's not the same as doing the repair videos. YouTube says I do repair videos, here's a repair, oh, this isn't a repair video. It doesn't help, it doesn't send it out to people. So you kind of get stuck in a rut to a certain extent, excuse me, of trying to feed the algorithm. And at some point you realize you're not having fun. I know a few YouTubers have found this, you know, they're trying to feed the algorithm. Now, there are ways around it. One of the ways is to start a second channel. Well, I'm barely keeping this one running. So, in the last 2 weeks, I've thought, what do I actually want to do? And I decided, you know what? Screw the algorithm. I'm going to have some fun. As you can see behind me here, this is The Movies. It's a great game from Lionhead Studios, back when Peter Molyneux wasn't a complete, not a nice guy. I came here the other night, actually. I finally had some time off, and I was gonna do some videos. And instead, what I did was I got a couple of cans of beer, and I sat and I drank a beer and I played this game, and I had a brilliant night. No videoing, nothing, but I had a brilliant night enjoying it. And you know what? I want more of that, because who wouldn't? So that's what I'm going to do. Now, I have somewhere in the region of 500 plus games just in the tech department that I can remember, and for all kinds of systems. PC, Amiga, Atari, there's Dreamcast, there's Japanese Dreamcast games over there, and yeah, no idea how they're going to work. I have PlayStation games, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Xbox One even, but that's in the house, you know, that's the most modern console I own. Yeah, and there's a ton of things that I haven't played. I'll let you into a little secret. I've never played Doom. I'd like to play Doom, I should play Doom, I need to play Doom, but I've never played Doom. Or Quake. Now, I've played lots of other games besides that, but Doom and Quake, at the time they were out, I didn't have a PC. Oh, excuse me. As you can see, it's still a little remnant of flu. But there are lots of things I would like to do, and playing games is one of them. Be that a game review for an old ZX Spectrum game, or maybe just a playthrough and trying some old games with a bottle of wine and a quiet Friday night. Maybe that's fun. There's also other projects I'd like to do as well. I worked in the flight simulation area for PC for 12 years. I know a little bit about it. Amazingly, I don't have a single flight simulator in here. I have plenty that I can install, but I don't have a system set up with classic flight simulators. I know my way around an aircraft. You put me in Microsoft Flight Sim 2024, I'm fine, I'm happy. I'm kind of curious whether or not if you put me in Flight Sim 4, rather than MS 2024, whether I can still fly that. The first flight sim I ever flew was the Scion one for the ZX Spectrum. It was terrible. I don't think I've ever made a landing on that, but you know what? It might be fun to try it. One of the things I'm really good at is the Airbus A320. I know a lot about the Airbus 320. I was the resident Airbus person then for my magazine. When I wrote for my magazine, I was the go-to person for all things Airbus. I have Airbus A320 for the Amiga that I've never played, and I'm kind of curious, can I fly that without a set of rudder pedals, without an analog joystick, without all the fine trappings that I'm used to from modern day flight simulation? But if I make that video, the algorithm will say, no. So screw it, let's do it, let's have some fun. And that's what I want to do with this channel. There's two other things I'd like to talk about. Channel sponsorship. I'm very lucky that PCBWay have joined me again in sponsoring this channel. I know a lot of people have issue with sponsors. Honestly, they help literally pay the rent for this place. That I'm very grateful for. So, you know, every little helps. So, yeah, I take a sponsor. However, I've worked, again, with product reviews and whatnot for 12 plus years. I tend not to worry about what companies think. You will get my unvarnished opinion on something, rather than ever doing a sponsored thing and say, oh no, it's absolutely fine, when it's not. I'll tell you if it's crap, honestly. For PCBWay, I've used them a few times and they actually are a good service, and I intend to use them some more in the next year and a half. Second thing, I do have a Patreon page. I have exactly two Patreons, one of which is my wife, the other one is the wonderful Veronica Explains It All. Veronica Explains, not Veronica Explains It All. It's such a 90s show. Veronica Explains, she's one of my patrons. And that's fair because I do not post enough on Patreon. I forget. I get lost at work. I get tied up trying to make sure a video is ready to go out, and I don't post enough about what I'm doing here because, for example, now tonight it is currently Saturday, March 8th. So it's Saturday, March the 8th. On Monday, I go into work and we are into what we call a build week. So we're getting our old show out and the new show in. So that means getting the old set out, get the new set in. Essentially, it means for me, I will be gone for 2.5 weeks. I will not be here able to work in the tech department for 2.5 weeks because it's 60-hour weeks to get this done. Once it's up and running, then yeah, I work 4 or 5 hours a night. It's great. But until then, for the next few weeks, I'm not here. So the idea that I could just, you could just do a random, Patreon post on a Wednesday. I wish. Time flies. And you notice it a lot when you're trying to get stuff done. I go, I must make this post. So at the moment, my Patreon will probably be open until June. And then I will more than likely close it because if I cannot give good value, and don't get me wrong, I appreciate everyone who, spends €1, €2, whatever to help support me. But if I can't give you something back for that, then I don't want to take your money in that respect for nothing. I may switch to a buy me a coffee kind of thing, Ko-fi, or make a donation if you want to. I'll see, but ultimately I'm not terribly worried about it. So I suspect come June I will probably close down that Patreon. So yeah, I want more fun. I want to explore more of the retro computing world than just fixing things. And I want to play more games. I want to find out new things. I want to take you guys along for the journey. So that's a channel update. Cheers. Seriously, it's just tea. I'm going to an after show party later, so yeah, there's that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a problem with an actress who's drinking too much.